Hello, it's Celeste here from Hexen Arcane, and I'm really excited about the movie that we're showing tonight. This one really gets me. It's not exactly horror, but it definitely has its place here. So we are showing the movie Reefer Madness. So it's I believe, a 1938 film. I've also heard 1936, but I believe that was erroneous. And also 1939. I'm going to go with 1938. So it's a 1938 propaganda film about the dangers of marijuana. And it was based on a real life case, which I'm actually going to talk about at some point in the future because I think it's really interesting. So stay tuned for that as well. And this film is one of the most funny or unintentionally funny movies out there. It is just really hard to get through without laughing. It was filmed in 3 weeks. Like I said, it was a propaganda film. They really thought they were, making a statement with this, but instead it's really one of those jokey, funny movies. And I really think that you will enjoy watching it with us. I also have the second half of the interview with Gary Golding. If you didn't see the last show or you don't remember, Gary is a legend from Naked and Afraid, which is a Discovery reality show. He's a survivalist who's known for being a scavenger. He's also known for being kind of out there with his views sometimes. People have called him controversial, but I think he's fascinating. He's one of my favorite survivalists to watch on Naked and Afraid, and he's really makes for fun TV. So agree with him or not, I hope you like the interview. And that will be the majority of this episode, will be the interview. And, of course, Reefer Madness. So let's start watching.
and all other school parent groups about the country, and you must stand united on this and stamp out this frightful assassin of our youth. You can do it by bringing about compulsory education on the subject of narcotics in general, the dread marijuana in particular. That is the purpose of this meeting, ladies and gentlemen, to lay the foundation for a nationwide campaign by you to demand by law such compulsory education. Because it is only through enlightenment that this scourge can be wiped out. Out of the traffic in these drugs, a lawlessness that we can scarcely estimate has grown and is now flourishing. It exists in almost every city and hamlet in the country. It might be interesting and important for you to know some of the methods used in bringing these drugs into the country, and the work of the forces of law and order, which are daily combating the traffic, always at the risk of life, by their agents. This ceaseless fight against the drug traffic is directed by the Department of Narcotics, Washington. I've received a letter of vital importance from a member of the Narcotics Bureau. I'm going to read this letter to you. My dear Dr. Carroll, the suppression of the use of marijuana and of the forces lurking behind it are the most important jobs this department is now engaged in. At the outset of this letter, there is one vital fact I would like to submit. There is a powerful agency. I speak of the school parent associations of this country, which can be invaluable in stamping out this scourge. Their help, their eternal vigilance, could be the deciding factor in our fight against it. The weed marijuana is grown in every state in the Union. Recently, in the city of Brooklyn, New York, a field of marijuana was found behind a tenement court. The weed was here being cultivated, regularly stripped and dried and sold in schools and at government army posts in and around New York. The dried leaves and berries are ground up and made into cigarettes by a simple hand machine. The deadly narcotic is thus quickly and easily prepared for its market. The sale of marijuana is even more difficult to detect and halt than the traffic in drugs such as opium, morphine, and heroin. They are hidden in fake jewelry cases, in the heels of shoes, women's shoes especially, because the drugs can be secreted in false heels. Hollowed shaving brushes are another medium. Books with false centers are often used. Watch cases are convenient hiding places. The value of drugs thus seized is enormous. Recently, a huge supply of heroin was taken. It was concealed in an apparently harmless shipment of 35 barrels of olive oil. The deadly drug was burned in the incinerator of the Bureau of Engraving and Printing. And more vicious, more deadly, even than these soul-destroying drugs, is the menace of marijuana. No doubt many of you do not believe that these things do happen, that they cannot happen to you. You may also believe that the facts have been exaggerated. Let me tell you of something that happened right here in our own city. You probably read about it in the papers. However, I'll give you the real facts behind the case. There was an apartment near one of our high schools. It was run by a woman known as McCollum.
Hey, come on, May, get up.
What time is it?
Time to get up and give this place a going over. Looks like the Marines had landed.
Oh, that bunch last night was high enough to take over the Marines and the Navy.
You better get on the job. Some of the kids may be up this afternoon.
Oh, Jack, we can get along without dragging those young kids up here.
Oh, why don't you button up your lip? You're always squawking about something. Got more static from the radio. Oh, greeting.
Well, hello, fella. How are you?
Fine, how are you? Come here. Come here.
Yeah.
All right, glad to see you.
Is May in?
She'll be right in. Just sit down and make yourself comfortable.
Hey, what kind of a joint is this, Eddie?
Oh, it's all right, Gwen. See, they probably had a party last night.
Oh.
A couple of your customers, May.
Yeah? Well, they're old enough to know what they're doing. Not like those young kids you bring up here.
All right, all right. Listen, I'm going to blow.
Where are you going?
I got to make some deliveries, and I'll probably drop by Joe's place and bring back a couple of the kids.
Oh, I wish you'd lay off those kids.
Oh, why don't you get over that mother complex?
So anyways, and so Matt liked being with me as a partner because I wasn't competing with him. You know, a lot of those people will compete, and we had a system, and it kicked butt.
And you have your thing, he has his thing, and you were both able to showcase what you do, what you can bring to the table in different ways.
And instead of competing, him and I said, "No, we're not going to compete. We're going to team up." And we kicked butt on that challenge. At that point, when that was released, we both got the highest PSR of 9.8.
Yeah, I saw that. And I noticed, like, one of the things, like you said, people tend to be competitive. How on an XL challenge and things like that, do you deal with all the different personalities that come up and you're all, you know, starving, cold, hot, dealing with bugs, dehydrated? How do you manage all those different personalities?
You got to be, you know, it's kind of like you got to have a temperament that is forgiving, and because you got to let people be people. If you get too sensitive out there, which does happen, we kind of will swing that way. We got to catch ourselves. Sometimes we check each other or whatever, or you check yourself, but you got to let people make mistakes, and you got to be pretty well rounded. You know, I mean, a lot of the people that do kind of make it as legends, and that you see a lot, you know, when you get to the top ones that are used a lot, you know, we've tend to have to, we still have trouble with each other, but you know, you got to be good at psychology to a degree. A lot of people don't, you know, they're surviving the elements, the bugs, the hunger, and then the people. But the top two that are the hardest, I think, is the bugs and missing the ones you love.
I was going to ask about the bugs because, like, sitting in my bed watching the show, I'm like, I could totally do that, except the bugs.
Okay, no, shut up. I don't even want to hear that.
I would get it out. I would. I know that. Like, you know, everyone gets that perspective, like, oh, that's so easy. Why are they tapping after a day? But no, I know I would be out instantly. I would be like 3 mosquito bites and I'd be gone.
That's what took my very first partner out. Yeah, the bugs, those blood-sucking flies.
How do you deal with the bugs?
And I will tell you, hey, I will tell you something. Like those flies on my first challenge, they were horrendous, because what you don't realize is there's the actual physical pain of the fly biting you, but then there's the visual, and they're in your eye, and then the little tiny ones are trying to suck the water out of your eyes, and then there's the audio, and they're And
Relentless.
it's an overwhelming smashing of mentality. It was so tiring that they would come out for 2 hours in the evening, and they would leave when it would get dark. And by the end of the couple of hours, I would start seeing blurred vision just from being worn out from those flies, like mentally.
Yeah. That was intense. And you lasted a long time alone on that challenge. And as your first challenge, I thought that was really impressive. That I felt sad for your partner, especially because she was a fellow Wisconsinite. But,
That's right. She was from Wisconsin, and Kara, she's a beautiful person. But yeah, those flies, they were no joke, and they came every single night.
yeah,
As soon as
so I was going to say, sometimes I feel like the episodes follow a storyline. So they'll show the storyline of the bugs, but then it'll kind of seem to go away, and they focus on other things like the hunger, but I'm sure in real life it doesn't go away.
no, my challenging beliefs, there's something called chiggers, and when you step on the ground, they chew you up from the knees down. Now, that's in the morning when you get up. So you're like, oh God, but the mosquitoes are all night. And then you step on the ground. When the mosquitoes are gone, then the chiggers eat you. So you're sometimes you're in places where you are eaten constantly.
So is all this worth it to spread your message to the world of enduring all this stuff, hunger, bugs?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? I thought about that before, and if you look at stories of, and I'm not having like a messiah complex, because I think that, like, for example, a lot of people forget that Buddha was just a human being.
Mm-hmm.
And so they think that they can't achieve and do what Buddha did. And even Buddha himself says, you can do all I can do. I'm just a regular man. And he says, if you see the Buddha, kill the Buddha. So basically, to argue with what I'm about to say next, you'd be arguing with Buddha if you're a Buddhist. So if you look at the story of Buddha, number one, I want to point out, he left his wife and child in the middle of the night with a horse, and his wife suffered from depression, which in today's world would be called a deadbeat dad. So he had very normal, he was a human.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm saying is, if you do look at the story of Buddha, in order to get his message out, there was a whole lot of suffering.
Yeah.
And something that I do a whole lot of starvation, right? A whole lot of hunger. And yeah, I kind of looked at it like it's almost sort of there's a lot of the stereotypical path of the spiritual being, right? And so I actually am pretty bold and arrogant with how I say it. And I say, you got to remember, Buddha walked the planet 2,600 years ago on a planet with 100,000 people on it, where the middle way made sense. But even though he existed, we're still in this thing today where we're getting up to 8 billion, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I always tell everyone, Buddha was close, but there's a new sheriff in town. Get out of the way. Gary Gold came along, and I hit the nail on the head. And it's funny to me that people would have a problem with that at all, that they couldn't believe that spirituality couldn't evolve over 2,600 years. So they have that cap, that ceiling on their belief because they were a follower, where I consider myself to have the same DNA as him. So I am the spiritual. I don't follow spirituality. I create it.
I like that.
Oh, by the way, Ralph, I'm sort of getting a little party Saturday afternoon over at my grandmother's. You know, the place with the swimming pool? Like to come?
Thanks, Eddie. Maybe I will.
I'd sure like to have you.
Okay, I'll probably drop over.
So long, Ralph.
See you later. Hey, Ralph. Hi, kid. Fine, Jack, and you? Oh, great. Where you heading? Oh. Hey, how do you like that? That's the one I was telling you about. Very nice.
I don't know why you want to make such a fuss over that Ralph Wally.
Oh, he's a swell swimmer. He made the freshman team that year he went to college.
Yeah, and that lets him out. My dad knows his family. None of them are any good. Father and mother just got a divorce from Paris.
Yeah?
You know, Ralph runs around pretty much on his own. He's been in a couple of jams.
Well, I only kind of say hello to him. I don't go around with him.
Well, you better not. He's a little too old for it. That's what my dad said.
Hello, Mary. How are you, Bill?
How are you, Ralph?
Oh, hello, Ralph. You know our brother Jimmy, don't you?
How are you?
Well,
I'd like you to meet a friend of mine, Jack Perry. Mary, Bill.
How do you do?
Glad to know you. We're going over to Joe's place. Why don't you come along?
we have a date to play, a set of doubles.
Oh, you can play anytime. Come on, we'll have some laughs.
Oh, we can today, Ralph. Some other time.
Can I go along with you?
Sure.
Hey, I'll see you at dinner, sis.
Don't be late, Jimmy.
I won't.
Finding that out. Why can't we go now?
Good. Hey, kids, we're having a little party up at my girlfriend's apartment. Wouldn't you like to come? Oh, I'd love to. You want to come, don't you, Jimmy?
Oh, sure. Any place with you.
Well, come along. We can all go in my car.
See you later, Joe. Tom.
It's sweet of you to help me, Bill.
Well, I'll try anything except domestic science.
Why, Bill, don't you want to learn something about running your own home?
The answer is no. You know, after that session we had yesterday, I went home and told Mother that the trouble with her pot roast gravy was she hadn't added 3 heaping teaspoonfuls of olive oil.
What did she say?
She didn't say anything. She just threw me out of the kitchen.
Well, I don't wonder. Hello, children. Hello, Mother.
Hello, Mrs. Lane.
That was sweet of you, Mother.
Gosh, hot chocolate. Thanks, Mrs. Lane.
I know you can't study on empty stomachs,
Now then, enjoy yourself.
He will.
She will too, Mrs. Lane. May I?
Oh, thank you, kind sir. You're so very, very kind.
Mary, before we do that math, how about reading some of this? It's swell.
Romeo and Juliet.
Don't you like it?
Uh-huh.
You know, when I study this, I kind of think of you. I just sort of feel as though you're there beside me. Well, listen. It is my soul that calls upon thy name. How silver sweet sound lovers' tongues by night, like softest music to attending ears.
Romeo,
My dear,
what o'clock tomorrow shall I send to thee?
by the hour of 9.
I will not fail. 'Tis 20 years till then.
I'll see you tonight, Mary. Bye, Mrs. Lang.
Goodbye. Goodbye,
So long. Gotcha. I guess I'm all right. Well, bye. Bye.
Hey, Daddy!
Oh, Julie. Well. Hey.
Hey, Dad, you got anything for me?
Well, there should be.
Don't bother your father every night.
Have you?
There you are.
What made you so late, Bill? I was getting worried.
Oh, I had to study, Ma.
He was not. I saw him out walking with his girl. Bill's got a girl. Got a girl.
Ma, make him cut it out.
Junior,
Well, Bill has got a girl.
quiet. And put that candy away till after dinner. Henry, you shouldn't have given it to him.
Well, he has got a girlfriend, and her name is Mary.
Yeah, I'll shut you up.
Bill, Junior, put that carrying on. Junior!
Oh, that's about out there. All right there, young.
Mary's little lamb. Mary's little lamb. I didn't mean to Bill honest, I didn't.
Oh, well, what I'm burned up about is that you didn't say Bill had a swell girl.
Gee, it must be love. She'd have to be swell for you to like her.
Uh-huh. Sounds like you want something. Come on, what is it?
Well, it's my model airplane. It won't work. Gosh, Bill, you could fix it. You can fix anything.
Okay, I'll fix it.
Dad, read me 26, will you?
Go ahead. Here we are. You see?
Oh, hello, Jimmy.
Mary told me to wait and tell her she had to go home. Her mother wanted her to go to the dressmaker with her.
Oh, thanks, Jimmy. Must be getting grown up. I see Mary let you have the car.
Yeah. Can I take you any place?
Well, I wasn't going any place in particular.
Well, then, how about driving me over to the show's place with me? I'll buy you a soda.
I never drink that stuff.
Well, gee, I'll buy you something else.
Okay. You're on the hook for one root beer.
Well.
Hi, Bill. Hi, Jimmy.
Hey, Jimmy.
Hello, Jimmy. Hello, Bill. Come on, slide in.
Hello, Blanche.
Hello, Ralph. How are you?
Hello,
Ralph. How have you been, Ralph? Hello, John. 2 sodas. No, I mean 1 soda and 1 root beer. How's Meg?
Oh, she's fine. We're going up to her apartment a little later.
Couldn't Bill come along?
Mm-hmm.
Well, don't come on along. Bill, you'll get a kick out of it.
Thanks just the same.
Oh, come on, Bill. Mary won't be jealous.
Why, sure. None of the kids will be there. It's Keen.
Well, I don't know. I really shouldn't. Well, okay.
Hiya, kid. Hello, Jack. What do you say? Yeah, come on in.
Come on, Bill. Don't stand there. He's okay.
Hello.
Well, if you say so, it's all right with me. I'll be back in a minute. Hiya, kid. How you doing? There's a new one in the bay.
Yeah, Bill Hawker. He's all right. Blanche's got herself quite a yen for him.
Not bad. I didn't think she had that much taste.
She knows what she's doing. She's got Ralph nuts about her, and now she's got her hooked up with this new kid.
Say, we haven't many more smoke. You better run over and get some.
Why couldn't you find that out when I was here this morning? Now I've got my car in the shop.
Well, what of it? That kid out there, Jimmy, he's got a car. He'll take you. Come on, get going. Hurry up.
And you have to have a big personality like that to really get a message out. You have to be out there. You have to have a little, you have to have confidence. You have to have a little bit of almost arrogance because
yeah, conviction, right? Or ego. And that's the thing about it. A lot of people don't realize that. That's why I brought up that part about Buddha. And one reason he was famous right from the gate, he was a prince that was rich and walked out on a bunch of money. That made people go, oh my God, he was famous from the gate.
Yeah. Okay, so I have a couple more questions. How much time do they give you to prepare for a challenge?
About, you kind of know you're going for like sometimes a couple months, sometimes only a month. Sometimes if things didn't go well and there's been emergencies and people knew in a couple of days.
If you know in advance, you try to bulk up, eat as much food as you can, things like that.
If you know in advance, you'll start trying to bulk up, lift weights, get fat. It's interesting. I remember one time I was thinking, how interesting, you know, I'm trying to get fat and in shape at the same time, kind of together. Because for this particular thing, it's a little different than just flat out bulking up as much as you try to get fat, you know?
Yeah.
And so, you know, yeah. And, you know, there's some people that like, you know, I see some people, some of the survivalists that are some of the most well-known ones. I mean, I don't think he would mind me saying, like Steven, for example, he'll smoke cigarettes all the way till the day we go in. You know, he's not worried about any addictions, you know? Yeah. And it's sort of that mentality where like, man, you know, you do have to have a little bit of like, F it, man, I don't care, you know, I got this, you know? And so there's a combo. You do want to bulk up for sure, though. You want to bulk up because your body's going to start eating muscle and everything. And some of us, we start losing our teeth, our hair.
I'm going to ask, I saw that it was mentioning Steven that he lost some teeth in a challenge. Well, over the course of challenges, have you had any permanent effects from your challenges?
You know, the most permanent effect is probably there's a scar on my back from when they cut an infection out of my back on my alone challenge. And, you know, it almost got to my tattoo, but it didn't. But, you know, for me, that's the biggest. But some, you know, some of these other people have been, I think there's a little thing on it. I think Monty might have been on a walker for a year. And
wow.
This stuff, we catch diseases, we sign up to die. Well, I'll tell you what is very real. It's a real challenge. What a lot of people don't, nobody watches us at night. Yeah. Like if a cat jumps on us at night, like a big cat, we're fighting that cat. Like there's nobody watching us with guns or something at night.
To my next question, have you ever been genuinely afraid on these challenges? Like really afraid?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. For sure. I've been very afraid. I've been more afraid of weather. Okay. You know, weather will do you in pretty quick. So I've been more afraid of weather and bugs. You know, the bigger animals, they could be scary, but you can control the bigger animals. You know, like if you know how to do your fire and make enough noise, you can't control the bugs.
You had an elephant by you one time, though. That can be pretty scary.
Oh, but I don't think it made it to TV. I got to watch that one again. They didn't show when the elephant chased us for a football field, and
oh no,
and Molly's screaming, "I didn't sign up for this. I have 2 children." And me and Matt are the type that we're like, we're getting a kick out of it. We're probably getting a rush, but like we're running from this big bull elephant. They can outrun us. They're fast, and they're territorial, and people think elephants are cute and nice. No. And so it's just kind of doing a fast, brisk walk, kind of like if you're walking towards someone to like, what? And it's knocking down trees. But that brisk walk has us running. That's our run.
That's terrifying.
Yeah. And so I've been chased butt naked by an elephant through Africa. And it was terrifying. What was scary about it, I remember me and Blair would be sitting in our shelter, and the babies elephants would be over there, and we would be like, and me and Blair had this boma that had a shell over the top of branches. It wasn't just in a circle, so we couldn't just like necessarily jump out. And so we're like, I remember me and Blair being like, man, I hope that one of those babies doesn't like get curious, because if the mom won't discern from whether the baby came near us or we came near the baby, if we're just close to the baby, that mom might come over and stomp us out. So I remember me and Blair thinking, they're cute and all, but please, baby, stay away from us, And I'll tell you a funny story as far as fear goes. I'm a veteran. I've been there. I was kind of, my mentality is, I know I can't do much about it, but Blair was brand new. Mm-hmm. And we're out in Africa. And it kind of worked good. This helped me sleep better too, because she was so terrified that she was staying up and listening for every noise and watching for everything. So I had like an alarm system. So I'd sleep like a baby, like, and then Gary, and I'd get woke up and I'd be like, oh yeah, we're fine, and like, you kind of have to have this, there's got to be a certain nonchalantness about it in order to not drive yourself nuts.
Yeah.
And after about 3 nights of that, I think Blair wore herself down enough to start falling asleep at night.
Okay, I was going to ask how you handle the fear when you're scared. You just kind of have to push through and be like, well, this is my time.
Yeah, there is definitely a mentality when you do these things that you have to go into it thinking, well, if I die, it's the way it was meant to be. It kind of helps you cope. Like that's part of being an adventurer or a survivalist, is like, hey, I can't control the universe. I kind of signed up to die, So I do think that way. You're kind of in acceptance of death, so that way you can relax.
Hey, Jimmy.
Yeah?
I've got to run over to Cedar Avenue for a minute. You've got a car, haven't you?
Why, yeah, my sister.
Mind giving me a lift?
Why, sure, come on.
Okay.
No, thank you. Well, here we are. Oh, thanks.
Oh, May, don't forget me.
I never forget you. Oh, here. If you want a good smoke, try one of these. If you're afraid. That's better. That's more like it. I know you like that. Really, you will. Now just take a puff of that.
Just be a minute, kid.
Hey, Jack, give me a cigarette before you go, will you? Hello, Jack.
Hi, boss.
How's business?
Getting better every day. Those kids sure go for it.
Swell.
Had to run over for a couple more cartons. Ran short today.
All right. Yanni, that's 10 gross for Jack Perry. Who? Pete Daly. All right, send him in. It's all right, stay where you are.
I want to talk to you.
All right, go ahead. Jack's okay. What's the beef?
Listen, you never heard no beef when I had to sell that rotten gin.
You're after the dough, aren't you?
Yeah, but I don't need dough that bad. Taking two-bit pieces from kids.
There are millions of two-bit pieces just begging to be taken. Don't be a dope.
I'm just dope enough to draw the line selling hop to kids.
All right, Pete. You know what my policy has always been. If the boys are not satisfied, I'm always glad to have them retire. Retire permanently. So long.
I only wish you had a couple of kids so I could...
Get out!
All right, Jack, pick up your stuff from Danny. It'll be ready by now.
Okay, boss.
Let's go, Jack. I'm red hot.
Better be careful how you drive it. The first thing you know, you'll be ice cold. Take it easy, kid. Slow down, you'll kill somebody.
Mary, you're not eating your breakfast again. Bill Hartford hasn't been around lately. Anything wrong between you two?
Why should there be anything wrong?
There shouldn't be, I'm sure. And whatever it is isn't serious, I know.
I'm sorry, Mother, for snapping at you like that.
Don't worry about it, dear. Why don't you speak frankly to Bill? He'll be honest whatever the trouble is. I'm sure Bill Hartford never lied about anything.
Yes, that's right. Bill's mother says he never lies.
There, you see?
You think it'd be all right if I speak to him about it?
Why, of course. Oh, Jimmy.
For what?
Sit down, darling, and I'll have your breakfast for you in a moment.
Jimmy,
What have I got to worry about?
why don't you tell me?
Oh, for Pete's sake, don't start to cross-examine me, will you? I'm all right.
Jimmy! Don't let Mother see you like that.
There is no doubt that there is an organized gang distributing the narcotic to students, not only in my school, but all over the city. You government men have got to find some way to put an end to it.
Of course, I agree with you, Dr. Carroll. But do you realize that marijuana is not like other forms of dope? You see, it grows wild in almost every state in the Union. Therefore, there is practically no interstate commerce in the drug. As a result, the government's hands are tied. And frankly, the only sure cure is a widespread campaign in education.
Oh, it's all right to talk about education, Mr. Wyatt. But we educators can't do anything until the public is sufficiently aroused.
Let me show you something. In 1930, the records on marijuana in the Washington office of the Narcotics Division scarcely filled a small folder like this. Today, they fill cabinets. All these devoted to marijuana records. Here is an example. A 16-year-old lad apprehended in the act of staging a holdup. 16 years old and a marijuana addict. Here is a most tragic case.
Yes, I remember. Just a young boy. Under the influence of the drug, he killed his entire family with an axe.
Then there is the most vicious type of case. Here, in Michigan, a young girl, 17 years old, a reefer smoker, taken in a raid in the company with 5 young men. Here is a particularly flagrant case.
Yes, I remember. The newspapers made quite a play of it. In West Virginia, wasn't it?
Yes. And there are hundreds of them coming up, new ones every day.
I'd like to take these records, if I may. I feel they would be of invaluable assistance to me in combating the evil in my school.
You're very welcome, Dr. Carroll.
Thank you. Sit down, Bill. There seems to be something wrong. What is it? You were always a fine student. You always had excellent grades.
Well, I guess the work is getting a little harder, Dr. Carroll.
No, it isn't that. Bill, I'd like to help you. But of course I can't unless you let me. You're undermining your health.
Well, there's nothing, Dr. Carroll. Really, there isn't. I'll study harder, honest.
Honest? If you were being honest with me and honest with yourself, I'm afraid you'd tell me an entirely different story. Bill, I'm going to ask you a straightforward question. And I'd like to have a straightforward answer.
Yes, sir.
Isn't it true that you have, perhaps unwillingly, acquired a certain harmful habit through association with certain undesirable people? Well?
Oh, no, sir, I haven't, Dr. Carroll. Well, that is, you see, I'm worried about something at home.
All right, my boy. We'll just have to let it go at that. But remember, if you ever want to confide in me, no one will ever be the wiser.
Well, thank you, Dr. Carroll.
Hello, Mary. You want to play a set?
Thanks, Teddy, but I'm waiting for someone.
Well, if you're waiting for Bill, he hasn't been here for weeks.
Didn't take that new kid long to catch on.
Don't take any of them long. Say, don't you ever get fed?
You're feeding me, can't you see?
Give me that with a fork, will you?
Get it yourself.
Good morning, Miss. We're from the police department.
Good morning.
We're tracing a hit-and-run driver. Someone caught the license number at the place of the accident but didn't get it quite right. So we're checking all numbers like it, and yours is one of them.
Well, I'll try to help you.
You remember what you did on the 29th of last month?
Oh, that was the day before Mother's birthday. Oh, yes, I remember that because I left school and went directly to the dressmaker's with Mother. I was there all afternoon.
Did you happen to loan your car to a couple of men?
No, I had the car all afternoon myself.
Well, thanks, miss. Sorry to have troubled you.
Tell me, was the person killed?
Fortunately, he wasn't, but that's still no excuse for hit-and-run driving.
How do you cope with the pain, the discomfort? Like, I know mental toughness is a big factor in making it through these challenges. How do you get that mental toughness to get through those things?
You keep telling yourself that's actually, it goes back to what you asked me about the first one, how I didn't finish it, but I got invited to do the second one. Well, the producer out there said to me, man, you've been out here, excuse me, you've been out here 9 days and you like ate nothing. You barely ate and you don't complain at all. You never say I'm hungry. You got flies sucking on you every day and you're joking and you are very tough. And I had a lot of integrity. And on day 8, I remember he said, do you want to go on XL? So he was so impressed with me. The crew was so impressed with me by day 8, they invited me to do XL. So because of that mentality, right? So, and I kept saying, I don't have to do this. I get to do this, okay. And I realized that every bite and every blood sucking was a gift. And I just think of it that way.
Okay. That's very interesting. When you're there and you're hungry, was there one food that kept coming back like, oh, I can't wait to eat this, or that was what you were thinking of? What was it?
We do. In fact, one partner I had, one theme that you hear, cheese. Oh my God, cheese. Oh yeah. In fact, one friend / partner talking about starting a cheese cult in the Naked and Afraid world, because man, we talk about cheese and pizza, right? And like, cheese is it. I gotta tell you. But then, and we sit there and we'll talk all night about recipes. I'll tell you one thing I learned. Talking about food. All you do is talk about food. We get all kinds of ideas about food and recipes from each other because we talk about food all night long. And Sarah Dancer, my partner Sarah, she taught me the hack for eating Oreo cookies in milk. Do you know what it is?
No, what is it?
I was like, it was brilliant because you know how you dip Oreo cookies in milk and it crumbles in your fingers and they fall in. And she told me, especially with the thicker stuff like the double stuffs, you get the fork, you stick it in the white stuff, and you dip that in like that, and that white stuff stays firm the whole time, and then all the black stuff is soft, but you're not holding it, and you stick the fork into the white cream and you dip it that way, and it works amazing.
Oh, so you're really learning some secrets of the universe here.
Yeah, you learn all kinds of secrets about food, but so I'll tell you that, and like buttered bread, like, oh, buttered bread, this smell. And I never drank coffee, barely, before XL4. But coffee's aromatic, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so like after XL4, I became a coffee addict. I drink coffee now ever since. That's been 2017, I think I was out there. So ever since 2017, I drink coffee every day. Before that, I never did because when I was in there, I remember thinking, man, when I get out of here, I'm going to like dive in. And I remember when at the extraction party, the wrap party, I had milk, coffee, soda, a beer, mineral water, everything and every taste and smell. And coffee was one of them, man. So yeah, we do crave stuff, but cheese would have to be the top dog.
That's very interesting. Are there, when you go in there, I'm sure they give you rules. Are there animals you can't touch, places you can't go? And does the crew ever eat in front of you?
The crew's not allowed to eat in front of us.
Okay. That'd just be mean.
They're not even allowed to talk about food in front of us. But, you know, every now and then, those of us, like I've been a lot of times on these challenges. So some of the camera crews are like our friends, and hey, what's up? We're back, you know, and we see each other regularly, right? If I had to be honest, I think I went more than once a year on some years, and I go every year, you know, kind of thing. And so, you know, I'm at that level with it, and a few of us are, right? So we run into them. So then, you know, they know what they can get away with. And sometimes they'll tease us, you know, but they're never allowed to take a bite in front of us.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah. Because when they leave, because they really go home at night, no one sticks around. And so we'll pick on them too and be like, yeah, get the hell out of here. Go drink your champagne. I always tell them, go drink your champagne and eat your chocolate mousse. And they'll be like, you know, sometimes they'll fire back and go, cheesecake. Dude, I eat cheesecake, you know, and I'm like, okay, whatever, your cheesecake. And so, you know, me and us and the crew get comfortable, and we pick on each other, and we razz each other. Yeah,
that's fun. And so when they start out a challenge, do they tell you like you can only go this far, or these are animals?
Or I'll tell you, I'll joke around. The next day when they come back, I'll even ask the crew if I could sniff their farts, just so I could smell what they ate.
Anyone said yes?
Hey, come over here. Hey, Mark. Let's say that. Get over here. Fart in my face. Oh, God, let me see what you had for dinner last night. Oh, Jesus. It's like smelling a flower when you're us. Oh, jeez. I know I'm crazy.
Wow. So, did you prefer your...
Has Jimmy Lane been here today?
He was in. He went over to May's place. You know where that is.
Well, he was going to wait for me here, so he didn't give me May's address. Are you sure Jimmy didn't leave any message for me? Mary?
No, he didn't. But I guess you're okay. I'll write it down for you.
Mary, come right in.
Is Jimmy here?
Oh, why, he's around somewhere. I think he went out to take Agnes home, but he'll be right back. Come in and sit down, Mary. And let me take your coat.
Who's the new kid just came in?
Oh, it's that gal that Ralph's gone overboard for. Funny, we've never been able to get her up here before.
Hey, scram, will you? Smoke, Mary?
Thanks. Are you sure Jimmy will be back soon?
Sure, any minute.
Hey, what's the matter? An orphan?
Where do you put it? You got a hollow leg?
Thank you.
How do you feel, Mary? Oh, Mary, give me a... Mary. Oh, Mary. Everything's all... Jack, is she all right?
She's dead.
May, get me some water. Now listen, you two. I want you to get out of here. Get out of here and forget you're ever in here today. I'll handle this. Now get going. Give it to me. Here. Harry. Mary. Mary. What happened? You killed her. Look. After I scram, you call the cops. And this is your story. Remember it. These two kids came up here for a couple of beers. You were out in the kitchen, you heard the shot. When you got in here, that's what you found. Just stick to that story. Mary! Mary, speak to me. Mary! Jack? I was just talking to a friend of mine. A cop. Sergeant on the homicide squad. The guy you hit that day died.
Died? You didn't...
No. I didn't crack. I'm not going to. Nobody will ever know you were driving that car.
Well, thanks, Jack.
Just as long as you keep your mouth shut that you were ever up in May's apartment.
Why, sure, Jack, sure.
Okay.
Did you prefer your alone challenges or your ones with a partner?
I love that question because I like my alone challenge. And here's why. Because the empowerment, like when you can, I was literally circled by a jaguar out there, and there would be a tapir that would come every night that was loud and scary. But then when I learned it was a tapir, and you know how if you go camping and you hear a noise, like, hey, what's that, right? Imagine being alone and naked in an actual jungle with no one around to help you. And so I liked it, like that. I was like, whoa, I'm really doing this. Like, this is like, if I can do this, imagine just letting me loose in the wild, period. Like, camping is nothing for guys like me, right? And so it's like, I'm like, yeah, I liked my alone one. I did because I lived off stuff that people, you know, I'm that one survivalist that if you really look at, like, say, the way I eat, I lived off tarantulas on that one. And other survivalists might be like, well, down the hatch, you know. But me, I'm like, delicioso. Like, I really love eating tarantulas, right?
Okay, I have a tarantula. I'm going to keep it hidden.
You have a tarantula?
I do.
Oh, man, let me know when. I would love to come over for dinner.
No, thanks. I actually
What?
love it.
What? No? Okay, well, don't turn your back on me around that tarantula. Hey, I'll tell you a funny story on that note. After I ate that dolphin, I put the TMZ article and video up on my social media. And I had a friend, it was the funniest comment in the comments below. He was like, holy crap, remind me not to fall asleep around you.
Well, that's a valid point. So if one of your partners died on Naked and Afraid, would you eat them?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I made a joke in social media on that level just to touch on this. I don't know how if you'll be able to want to use this or not, but like when COVID hit, I was like, oh, damn, I'm going to be eating good.
That's morbid, but I love it. So how did you learn survival? Where did you get your training? I mean, if you're a kind of LA area city person, where did you learn about this?
Yeah, I get asked that a lot. And it goes all the way back to, you know, I think there's a certain part of it that you're born with, but then there's also exposure, right? And my grandmother had fruit trees in her backyard, and she would let me loose back there, and I just knew that you ate off trees. And from, like, I'm talking a baby, and I loved it back there. And then when I was a child, my dad, he exposed, there was something, I must have been 5 years old. We had something called Indian guides in the YMCA. We used to have to make our own moccasins and our own leather vests and our dads would go camping, and they take all of us out there, and we would dress like little Native Americans and run around and make things and hike and get exposed to nature. Today it's sad because that'd be called cultural appropriation, which is terrible that even exists, because we loved Native Americans. And and we were allies of theirs. So they won't even let you love other cultures now without giving them a bad name. And we loved them. I learned about them. It's probably the best way to make people care about them. And now they want to stop that. And it's ironic because I think back, I'm kind of being detailed. My uncle was he was Apache, a real Native American. He didn't care. And so he was in there too. And but I had exposure to that. And then my dad took me snorkeling and surfing, and my dad loved nature. He loved the tide pools. Do you know what tide pools are?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so we went tide pooling, and I was playing with animals my whole life, little animals, snorkeling with.
One in Hawaii, we went snorkeled in the little like shark cove and the tide pools. I saw a little like octopus or something, and it was really cool.
Yeah, a lot of octopus. What island did you go to?
Oahu. I've been
Okay,
to Maui and Hawaii and Oahu, but mostly I go to Oahu.
Yeah, my dad lives over there in Kona. So anyways, exposure mixed with, and I was that kid that always had a jar with a bee and a spider in it or something and bugs in it. And so much so that like on birthdays and Christmas, like an uncle would give me like those containers made for bugs, right? And so like I was very just into it, from a child. And then you combine that with Y2K hit, and everybody was scared that stuff was going to go down. And so I always fantasized about being like Tarzan, like a lot of little boys and girls or whatever, and being a nature guy. And then Y2K actually inspired me to say, I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to actually educate myself and learn about survival. And so in 1999, I dove very deep into the world of survival, and I immersed myself in the wilderness for like a year. Like I took a course in San Diego, California on urban and how to move through like anarchy and rioting, and like a survival class. I learned how to treat animal hides and turn them into clothes and fire pottery in the earth just with coal. And then after that, I did one where I went to Mount Shasta and I had to dig snow caves and sleep in snow caves. And I went to the desert of Arizona. And then I just immersed myself in survival in every environment. So that's when we were talking about how were you found for Naked and Afraid? Well, not only did I save that life in 2014, but I had been training survival 15 years before.
And that's kind of what you do now, isn't it? You teach children these skills in some ways, right? You do a lot of working with kids right now, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I get hired right now. I taught at schools, gardening and stuff like that, which is a form of self-reliance. And being exposed to me, they would learn other things. And so I did work in the schools until COVID hit, and then that kind of changed everything. And I focused on my tour guide business, where I take people kayaking with whales, snorkeling with sea lions. So I do, for my life, I expose people to nature. But then I also do assemblies where I do appearances because I have crazy videos with whales and everything, with me with whales. And so I do assemblies, and right before COVID hit, I did this big assembly in New York, and it went crazy. And they were going to book me on a tour around the nation doing assemblies, but COVID hit and put the kibosh on that. So then I do them in small form, and I'd still do assemblies, but that translated into people that could afford me, that saw my assemblies and said, hey, do you? And they have me teach their kids privately. So I actually teach some kids privately, families, their children, how survival skills in nature, like how to climb rocks and rappel, and even how to snorkel, and how to hunt animals, and how to make fire. And so, yeah, I teach kids self-reliance, I would have to say, because it's not just survival, but it's self-reliance. Because, and I'm very proud of these parents. I consider them very smart, because I got this one really kids, an 8-year-old little girl and a 5-year-old little boy, that really have been given to me by these parents in this capacity recently. And I tell them, you hired me not to teach them how to rub sticks together. I said, if I find a coyote on the way here, we're going to skin that coyote and I'm going to eat it. And these parents actually were like, oh yeah. So those are my kind of parents because they're smart, because those kids are going to be tough.
Yeah. Okay, I have two more questions. One, is there any like really awesome story that you have that you wish made it on camera but didn't?
Yes. Yeah. One of them is this. On XL7 with Max and Amber as my partner, you'll see in XL4, I actually have a saying that would be a baseline teaching saying if I was to teach you a course. And I was going to get shirts, I think, with this on it. And it says, if you're not willing to eat maggots, you don't really want to survive. If you're not willing to eat maggots, you're not really a survivalist. Because at the baseline, if there was a pile of maggots or death, you better eat the maggots. And so a lot of people don't
into like their animal form of saying you either have the will to survive or not. You have to like push past any squeamishness and just be like, I want to survive. I want to live.
Yep. And you have to be willing to eat maggots. And so that's a baseline thing. And so what I'm getting at is that's a teaching thing for me. And that's what a lot of people don't see me doing on television is they think I'm being mean when I'm actually trying to give you something. I'm trying to teach you something. It's a mentality. So Max and Amber, that alligator that we got together, I was eating it longer than anyone, into like 10 days into it. But in the spine of the alligator is where all the maggots were, because there's a hole running down the spine where the nerves go and everything, and they're gone. And then the fire can't get to those maggots and burn them too easily. So I was getting a stick and I was sticking it down in there and I was eating maggots off of the stick. And Max and Amber are looking at me like, damn, you know? And I looked at them and I go, if you're not willing to eat maggots, you don't really want to survive. If you're not willing to eat maggots, you're not really a survivalist. And Max and Amber both go, give me that. And they both ate like a couple maggots each, like small bite. And I go, all right. I go, stepping up your game. I like it. I go, you guys, you surprised me. And I wish that would have made it to TV. Yeah. That's one of my favorite ones that I wish would have made it to TV. And I would have to say, geez, because there are some good ones that are that can't make it always, that are pretty wild. Let me think. XL4, XL.
They did put.
Your Honor, I'd like to recall Dr. Alfred Carroll to the stand.
Call Dr. Alfred Carroll to the stand.
Dr. Carroll, as principal of the Lakeside High School, did you, during the last 3 months, notice any changes in the demeanor and attitude of your student, William Hopper?
Yes, in a number of things. For example, at times disassociation of ideas. In another instance, I happened to attend the recent interscholastic tennis matches. And while Bill Harper had been considered an exceedingly good player, I saw him miss the ball by as much as 3 or 4 feet. This, I understand, could be attributed to the use of marijuana. It causes errors in time and space.
Objection, Your Honor. The witness isn't qualified to express opinions upon the effect of narcotics.
Sustained.
Dr. Carroll has been called merely as a character witness. Well, then, although you didn't know to your own knowledge that the defendant was using marijuana, did you notice any changes that would lead you to believe, as an educator, that he was under some severe mental strain, which might possibly have been induced by some drug?
Yes, I recall distinctly a few weeks ago. It was during a class of English literature. There was a serious discussion of Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet when he suddenly burst into an uncontrollable fit of hysterical laughter.
Oh, by the way, Dr. Carroll, 6 months ago, what would have been your opinion regarding the character of my client?
He was a fine, upstanding American boy, a good scholar, a good athlete, and representative of the caliber of young men we are proud to graduate from our school.
Oh,
snap out of her, will you? It's not our fault. Why'd I ever bring him up there anyway? He's just a kid. I can't hang him.
Shut up, shut up!
Why don't you let yourself go? Talk. Go off your nuts and have me that way, too. It was his own fault, wasn't it?
Shut up! They've got us hidden now, haven't they? The cops can't find us.
Jack, I want to get out of this place.
You're going to stay here as long as we have to keep those two out there undercover. Until the trial's over. The boss gets a better idea.
But they're getting on my nerves.
It can't last much longer. Not worried about her. We got to keep him gagged.
Oh, he's about ready to crack.
All you got to do is keep him from having too many reefers.
Any day now, that punk will get hot. He'll probably spill and tell all he knows if he gets the chance.
I don't think he'll get it. I'll see you later.
Where are you going?
I'm going to see the boss.
Hello, Jack.
Hello, boss. What are we going to do about that Wiley guy?
Still jittery, huh?
I don't know what the punk's going to do.
Keep feeding him those hot sticks.
That's what May's been doing. That's no good. I got a hunch that he's due to crack when that Harper verdict comes in. If he's on the tee, he's liable to take a powder on us and blow his topper to the DA.
You mean you think we'd all be better off if he never heard the verdict? Well, what are you waiting for?
You, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, have a duty to perform. A duty to yourselves and to our community. Mary Lane is dead. The evidence you've heard at this trial could not have failed to convince you of the guilt of the defendant. By his own admission, he pressed the trigger of the weapon that sent lovely and innocent Mary Lane to a tragic and untimely death. We are not so much concerned about the motives behind the deed as to the deed itself. While the defendant has told you that he saw someone attacking Mary Lane, and that his mind went blank from that moment on, the defense has been unable to produce one witness to substantiate that statement. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you've heard able men testify at this trial, men who have tried to bring out the fact that the defendant might have become momentarily insane when he fired the shot that killed Mary Lane. But the defense has been unable to prove that he was insane. William Harper was sane when he visited the apartment where the tragedy occurred. He was in the habit of visiting the place. He was sane when he went into a bedroom with another young woman. You've all heard what went on in that room. You heard it from the defendant's own lips. Involved as he was in a tawdry love affair, Mary Lane was in the way. She had found him out. In a moment of anger, he deliberately and willfully killed her. If such deeds are permitted to go unpunished, this community would cease to be a decent and safe place for us or our children to live. I do not believe I have to plead or even demand that you bring in a verdict to punish the defendant for the crime that he has committed against society. You are upright citizens. That is why you were chosen to judge another. And as honest, upright citizens, there is only one verdict which you can find, and that is a verdict of guilty.
And this court will be adjourned until the jury's verdict is reached. I suppose you all feel the same about this case.
But he might have been insane when he did it.
No, he wasn't. He knew what he was doing.
But supposing he was insane?
You can never make me believe it nor anybody else. We'll take a first vote. For conviction, 1 for acquittal.
But there's a reasonable doubt about the boy's sanity.
We can't. No doubt about the fact that he murdered her. He admitted it himself. That wasn't the first time he was there. We gotta make an example before boys like that contaminate all of our children. We can't have every murderer hiding behind the gag that he's insane. Sure, they see red before they kill somebody. But whose fault is it?
They did put the eyeballs in there. Do you regret your choices there?
Yeah, a lot of people think I got sick from eating them. I believe I got sick from putting them in my head, because when I put them in my head, they were raw.
Yeah.
Now, I would have to say what XL7, XL4, My Naked and Afraid alone. There's some stuff that just didn't make it because the camera wasn't on too. Okay. Like one time I was talking to Blair in the morning, and then 10 feet behind me a leopard ran by, and she goes, whoa, the leopard just ran past.
That's cool. Yeah, that's scary, but cool.
Yeah, but cool, right? You get to say that, but yeah, that's my favorite one right there. There's kind of there's silly ones, but there's like one when I rolled down a hill when I was with Blair and stuff like that. But I can't think of one right now too much that sticks out in my head, except for that maggot thing, because I always like that. And then on that same XL4, what they don't show is that same day when I got a monitor lizard and 2 legs. So not only did I have a head and that back strap, you don't see everything else I got that day. I mean, I was rich with meat, which would have really, it was a lot of meat. And, it would have made me look a little better, but big deal. But, yeah, I can't think of anything. If I think of something, I'll let you know, because there is some really good stuff.
What makes you take those risks, like climbing those tall trees that other people are scared to do, and putting things in your eyes, and things that take you out of challenges? But what makes you take the risk to do it?
Sometimes I'm just love being a clown. I'll do anything for a laugh. I mean, like I'll do, I was disappointed, and I felt bad for the audience, the fans, and the network on XL8, I believe, the Amazon. I had to leave after the first night, and they invest in me because I deliver. Mm-hmm. But this gets into a story.
You weren't the only one to leave that challenge right away.
No, I mean, that's how harsh it was. That was harsh. And I could have handled the bugs. I handled the bugs good, better than others. I just had an accident. And so, I mean, and you look how harsh that was. Look, Steven's teeth fell out. So, I mean, we get malnourished, but I'll tell you a story behind that. So as far as the fans go and the network goes, I failed in TV land. I lasted one night. Gary Golding, I like to deliver at least 7 or 8 episodes of good, solid stuff, whether it's humor or true skills. And that's why they bring me. Well, I get blind. Turns out my mom was having symptoms of problems, and she had dealt with colon cancer before. She waited till insertion day because she knew I wouldn't have access to a phone and I wouldn't be able to reach her, so I wouldn't have to worry. And on insertion day, my mom went into the hospital to go get these symptoms checked. She had cancer. They cut her open that day.
Wow.
So then I'm scared. I don't want to call my mom for a couple of days because I'm blind. So I'm protecting my mother, not calling her because I don't want her to worry, because I want to be able to make that phone call and say, I'm fine. I can see now, right?
Yeah.
Couple days pass. My eyes are coming back. I call my mom. She's in the hospital with cancer. And then I have to come home now anyways. And so my mom needed me. Turns out the universe knew better. And it spit me out of the Amazon right away. And my mother needed me at home to take care of her with cancer. They released her to my custody from the hospital. It took her so long to recover on extraction day. So my mom did exactly the 60 days I was supposed to do in the Amazon, but in the hospital. And then they released her to me. And for 4 months, I had to be her 24-hour nurse. And I spent those 4 months helping my mother die. And so my mother passed away. And what I'm getting at is, sure, as far as the TV and the fans go, I failed. But as far as my personal life went, it was what was needed. And so I don't have regrets about it, because I can look at that and reflect on that and think, hey, you knew better, universe. You knew where I needed to be. So I don't have like a weird thing about it, but because I felt like, whoa, someone knew something I didn't.
Yeah. Well, I have one more question. I don't know if you can answer this. Are we going to see more of Gary Golding on TV?
I will say that there's a good chance you will. There's a good chance that you will. With the way things go with me, I wouldn't doubt it, because, and I'm going to give you a reason why. Because it's pretty interesting to answer your question. On XL4, I was the most written about character there.
Mm-hmm.
And on XL7, if you watch it, almost every episode ends with me as the teaser. What's Gary going to do next? What's he going to eat next? Is he going to vomit in the shelter? Did he get hurt? Yeah, did he hurt himself when he fell out of that tree? I'm the only one with an...
So hard. I was like, make it to the end.
Yeah, and I'm the only one on that XL7 with an episode named after him. It's called Gary Eats All the Things. And so that is one reason. Another reason is they didn't talk to me for a year, and they didn't want to use me because I ate that dolphin. And I was cocky, and I told them, oh, you'll be having me back. Mark my words. And they said, yeah, we'll see. And sure enough, they had me back. So what I'm saying is, I don't know that they can resist putting me back in there again.
And if you called, would you go?
It's always a tough call, because you got to deal with the fact that you're literally going out there to you really do sign up to die and get diseases. And I always think to myself, and I'm not the only one that does, it's like, man, how many times can I dodge a bullet? Because some of them have walked away with diseases, and I just think, man, eventually it's only a matter of time, right? And
like when EJ was on it in the last challenge, I'm like, okay, he's done awesome. Like, he made it through, and like, but at some point you got to stop putting yourself through that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then you get us people that are up like 6-7 challenges deep, right? And it's like, and a lot of us, we desire to be bigger than having to do that, you know? And, but at the same time, the growth, my friends are some of the best survivalists around, and they're pros. And then I get to spend time with experts in foreign countries, in the Amazon and Africa.
People.
And so it's funny how people will judge me, especially. It's just like I'm crazy and I'm good on TV. They have no idea the experts I spend time with. Like, imagine my knowledge base. So every time I go, I grow, right? So there's that side that I just am kind of addicted to, where like, oh man, I get to go learn some more. And so it's hard to say, I mean, I I always, because one thing you never hear me say on these challenges, you never ever hear me say, I'm going to finish for sure.
Yeah.
Because I'm too realistic and I don't really plan on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you never hear me say, I quit.
Yeah.
Like I'm meaning I'm not ever going to go again.
Yeah.
I always claim to not know, because I don't.
It's hard to know. But you're out there inspiring all the next generation of survivalists.
Yeah, this a lot of times is, I always tell everybody the only reason I do these challenges is because of this. That's the only reason. And to carry a message to humanity. And I did a pretty good job, because if you think about it, how many episodes? There's 10 on XL4. There's a 2-hour special. There's Alone. There's another XL7. I'm probably have 27 episodes with this sentence in it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I so appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. I learned a lot from you. You have very interesting stories. So thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to talk to you today.
Well, I got to tell you, Celeste, you personally, you've been a witch through this whole thing. Like I can't believe the way you behaved. You've been a total witch. Yeah. And I mean, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but you've been a witch. And it was my pleasure and it was an honor. So just, hey, when you do that spell, do a good one on me, all right? Jeez.
Yes, of course.
All right, thank you.
Have you reached a verdict?
We have. The defendant will rise. What is your verdict?
We find the defendant guilty as charged.
What do you want?
Bring me some reefers. They're going to hang him. Blanche, they're going to hang him.
Oh, come on. Get a hold of yourself. Here you are. Now quit that crazy laughing.
Where's Jack? I want to get out of here.
They'll pick you up and hang you if you don't pipe down.
I want to see Jack. Jack. I want to see Jack. Jack.
You'd better quiet him. I can't do anything with him.
We can't let that kid hang.
He'll be here. Don't worry. He'll be here in a little while.
I've got to see him. You've got to see him.
Come on, darling. Everything will be over soon. Do you want me to play something for you?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Play something.
All right. Come on. Sit down. Honey, give me a smoke, will you?
I know what you want. You want to kill me.
You're crazy. Take it easy, kid. I just want to talk to you.
Give me a glass of water.
Who's behind you?
No, no, no.
You'll hang if you don't talk. No. Who hired you and Jack? Hurry. Are you ready to tell what you know?
Yes.
If we can gain some measure of leniency for my client, she is prepared to enter a plea of guilty and, in addition, turn the state's evidence in the case of William Harper.
I regret that this court is not prepared to bargain with justice.
I'll tell anyway. I was there. I saw it. I know who killed Mary. And I'll tell you who killed Mary Lane. It wasn't Bill. It was Jack. Jack Perry. He shot Mary, and then he put the gun in Bill's hand. We were all at the apartment one afternoon, and Mary came in looking for her brother. Bill and I, we'd been in another room. And Bill came in. He caught Ralph with Mary, and they started to fight. But it was Jack who had the gun. He was going to hit Bill over the head with it to make him stop. And then the gun went off. I saw it. I can see it now. It was horrible. And before he knew it, Mary was dead. But you see, Judge, Bill didn't know he hadn't killed Mary. He was so doped up, they made him think he had. Ralph wanted to tell you, too. Oh, if they'd only let him. But this is the truth, Judge. I'm telling you the truth. After Jack saw the poor he was dead, he put the gun in Bill's head. It was Jack's fault. And it was my fault, too. I got all of them to come up to the apartment. I'm just as much to blame. I am.
Do I understand you wish to plead guilty to a charge of fostering moral delinquency in the case of William Harper?
Yes, I'm guilty. I am.
Prepare a statement for signature, and also an order setting aside the jury's verdict in the case of the people versus William Harper. In the interests of justice, I shall direct a verdict of not guilty. Sign here, please. You shall be brought into court on Thursday, the 17th, when sentence will be pronounced. Meanwhile, you will be held as a material witness in the case of the people versus Ralph Wiley. In the hearings before this court today to what I hope will be the final actions revolving about an unhappy and unfortunate case, one whose horrible tragedy will forever remain with me. I am happy to have been enabled, before it was too late, to order the verdict of the jury in the case of the people versus William Harper to be set aside. But, young man, although this court is convinced that to declare you guilty would have been a gross miscarriage of justice, we cannot condone your acts.
And we can express only the hope that your experiences may not alone keep you, but thousands of others from the vicious pitfalls of marijuana. Thus, I am ordering you to remain in this court during the next case, so that you will be obliged to witness what you yourself so narrowly escaped.
Call the case of the people versus Ralph Wiley.
Bill.
Bill.
Your Honor, in this case, the state waives trial of the defendant, Ralph Wiley. It is convinced that he is hopelessly and incurably insane, a condition caused by the drug marijuana to which he was addicted. It is recommended, Your Honor, that the defendant be placed in an institution for the criminally insane for the rest of his natural life. Defendant counsel joins the state in this request.
Since counsel for the defense, as well as counsel for the state, seem to agree on this, I see no reason why the request should not be granted.
Yes, that happened right here, to your neighbors. It is not too much to say that in your hands lies the possibility of averting other tragedies like it. We must work untiringly so that our children are obliged to learn the truth, because it is only through knowledge that we can safely protect them. Failing this, the next tragedy may be that of your daughter, or your son, or yours, or yours, or yours.
We're back. This is the end of the show. I hope you enjoyed the movie Reefer Madness. It, like I said, unintentionally funny, but also hilarious. I cannot get through it without laughing so much just because of the acting, the story, everything about it. It just gets to me. It's so much fun. So let me know, does it have a place in horror? Because I think it does. Also, I really hope that you enjoyed the interview I did with Gary. I have to admit, I was fangirling. I am a huge fan of Naked and Afraid. I love survivalists. I love all the stuff I learned from them. And I also think they're interesting and entertaining television to watch. So I really was so honored and privileged to be able to interview him. And I really hope that came through. And I hope that even if you don't know the show or aren't a fan of the show, or aren't a fan of Gary, that you were able to enjoy the interview. And if not, I guess try again next week. So I think that's all for today, but really hope that you've enjoyed this episode and all the fun that we're having bringing this stuff to you. And of course, as always, we will hex you soon.